I'm here with Erica McKenzie. She's been on television, on a doctor's show, a popular doctor's show. She supports research with the Johns Hopkins University and promotes research and does her own research on NDE, near-death experiences. She's a proud mother, a registered nurse, and on November 11th, there's a new book that's going to be coming out called The Transformative Power of Near-Death Experiences and How NDEs Affect the World. She's written a chapter in it, collaborative effort with doctors and other people, but she has been very involved. This book her original book came 15 years ago. I'm curious, what's going on with the research on your behalf?
Well, I died 15 years ago.
Right.
My book, It's Dying to Fit In, and it came out in 2015. And so, you know, it was a thing like I was telling you earlier. When I died and I had to go to the mental institution,
right,
you know, to supposedly get quote-unquote mentally healthy, even though I knew that that wasn't the problem. I was not mentally ill. I didn't make this up. This really happened to me. But when I was released from the institution, finally, it wasn't like I got to go home and just my life picked up and resumed the way it was. Everything completely changed. This experience changed me forever, and I would never be the same. And so having to get healthy physiologically, I had a lot of, you know, problems with my body, health issues I had to address, but I also had to, at the same time, work through and address the components of, you know, spiritual components, things I had grown up learning. You know, it wasn't what I experienced in my NDE. I had to come to terms with that. And also then, you know, just mentally, the whole thing, knowing these things, I couldn't go back to the way things were. So there was so much work I had to do on myself. You know, and part of that was also finding the healing along the way as I did the work. And for me, personally, I found that through helping others. And, you know, as soon as I got healthy enough, I remember starting to, you know, use my nursing degree and go into hospice.
Right.
And start spending time with people that were going to, you know, pass away. Because I knew that it wasn't the end. I knew death didn't hurt. It was the beginning of a beautiful new chapter.
Right.
And I just felt, you know, this sense of responsibility to, A, share that with people that maybe don't know that and are scared, but B, also, there was this feeling of camaraderie almost, of being around people who I could talk about this. I could talk about dying, you know, and what happened to me, what I experienced. And not feel judged. Not feel judged,
right. You know, yeah. What was...
That was a huge part.
I'm sorry?
That was a huge part of it.
Right. You know, I was going to mention that later, but in your book, you often, and all your interviews and everything, you constantly use the word acceptance. And you did not feel you were accepted. Is that the case? And it was all due to a lot of bullying. In fact, that led to your diet pill addiction, which is, what was it? Fettergen? I can't pronounce it, but it's related. Yeah, it's not as strong as amphetamines, but it is still a powerful drug. And in your near-death experience, you described God saying you have beauty. Did that change your outlook on life and yourself?
Oh my gosh. Absolutely. I mean, because I had, you know, for such a long period of time, had such toxic, self-destructive behavior towards myself because I don't blame anyone else. I don't blame the media. I don't blame other people for bullying me. And I really don't blame myself either. But what it is I look back now, and when it all started, you know, when I was 12, middle school,
right,
was I didn't have the wisdom or the knowledge or the support as a young teenager to understand that when those things were happening to me, and I was made to feel like, you know, I wasn't good enough, that wasn't the case. And so I think for me, having that negative thought pattern for so long developed, you know, my coping mechanisms were the bulimia for 12 years. And then it led into, as you know, the phentermine, which is a class 4 narcotic. And yes, it's awful. It's in the amphetamine family, and back then it was compounded differently. So, you know, it's really sad because now the older self, going through all of this, having to die and come back, and what I learned, and when God said that to me, you know, I'll never forget, I gave you the gift of patience and I gave you the gift of beauty when you were born. And I mean, who would argue with our Creator? And I'm not that kind of person, but it just came out of me from years of hurt saying, well, no, that's not right. I'm not beautiful. Look how things were. I never thought I was good enough. That's what I allowed myself to feel for so many years. And, you know, and then when God stopped me in my tracks again and said, Erica, I gave you the gift of patience and I gave you the gift of beauty. And in that moment, it was like my whole sense of self, just even from a physiologic aspect, was filled up with this unconditional love that I have never, ever experienced on that profound of a level.
When people hear your story, do you fear they're going to think you're crazy?
Yeah. Oh my gosh. I mean, absolutely. And, you know, I don't blame them at all. It's very hard, number one, the things that happen to me to discuss. Logically, they do sound crazy. They sound crazy because as a society, we have made things like this be, as a whole, not acceptable, or they sound crazy, or we make fun of it. We don't really be quiet.
There needs to be an increased awareness of all of what is going on. But I talked to a psychologist who was open with me and discussed these topics. But the truth is, in psychiatric, psychological, and all other aspects of the fields of medicine, people are looked upon as Looney Tunes when they go out on a ledge and discuss something that is undefiably and unreputably true. Because the journals all show the data that this is not just a fluke. This is actually occurring, and I have the data to back it up. The book that I'm publishing will show that.
Right, and that is why when I found out about Johns Hopkins University, it really spoke to my soul, and they are just the most incredible people to have worked with and continue to work with, because we can't do this alone. Nothing is designed on this planet for humans to do alone. It's all a collaborative effort to do anything positive and make change and get ahead. And that is why it's important to marry the data, the scientific data, the medicine.
But do you find it hard to get doctors to listen to these type of requests because they're afraid they're going to look bad?
Right. Well, I have not. I've been very fortunate up to this point where a lot of the talks that I've given and things, I've been received with open arms. I'm very, very blessed, and I know that because that is not the case. It is not all roses. You're exactly right. This is a huge battle, if you will, of really great people. You know, the doctors and things that are being dismissive still, right? They don't want to hear about
They don't want to hear about it.
Medicine.
Right, definitely.
Yeah, they're not that. I'm telling you right now that I don't believe in my heart that this is, they're out to just medicate people because, you know, we suck or, you know, they want less people. I mean, it really goes back to just in my, you know, research. I mean, 15 years is a long time to gather a lot of information.
I agree.
Go through things personally, meet people and talk to people. And it really is a lack of knowledge. And partly also,
Definitely.
I'm going to tell you right now, I found that part of the problem is, and this is natural, is there's fear. There's a lot of fear.
Fear of knowing what is out there. They're afraid that they're going to get the answer and it's not going to be one that they like. Is that the fear?
Yeah. All of the above and more. I think, you know, like you and I being different, and we know all of us have a unique, you know, fingerprint, right? None of us are the same. Well, it's the same with these topics that we're talking about. You know, it's not just the NDEs, and that's what my show is about. It's not just the near-death experience. Yes, it's so profound, but we're also talking about things like after-death communication, you know, premonitions, out-of-body experiences, and more. All of these things, I feel, in my experience and my research, are real, and they're happening on a global level. So it's not just, you know, some group of people in one state that are
Oh, it's happening on a global
their
level,
senses.
definitely.
Yeah.
Yes. It's a global phenomenon.
For years, you know? And so the beautiful part is people are finally
acknowledging it.
They're speaking up.
Forgetting where, but a group of doctors with a major organization met on how to treat psychiatric patients who had a near-death experience and were not hallucinating. Did you know about this?
Yes. Well,
Yeah.
you know that so in 2016, I shared the stage in Hungary. It was a global conference, and so I was on stage with Dr. Stan Gross and mental health professionals I shared the stage with who are working really hard to bring these experiences to light and not medicate people for them. Yeah, they're speaking up. And yes, we have a long ways to go. Don't get me wrong. We really do. The majority of the industry is still being very slow about it. But
Right.
we are making headway, and it's just going to take people like you and I and others coming together, supporting each other, working together, and really the more that we share these stories,
Right.
the more we talk about these things, that's how we change things.
Two last questions. What is the hardest thing to think about when you put your head down at night? What goes through your mind when you lay down? Are you satisfied with your life? Do you have doubts? Do you have concerns? What goes through your mind when you place your head on the pillow and go to bed?
Oh man. Okay, first of all, just so you know, sleep is a challenge for me since I went through all of this. And you're probably the more NDE people you talk to, we're wired. Like our wiring totally got altered, and sleep is a challenge. So I have a lot of sleepless nights, but I don't go to bed. That's not because I have fear or anything like that. I just, again, I put a lot of pressure on myself to make sure I'm constantly asking myself, did I do everything I could? Did I do the best I could to, like, if somebody reached out to me for help that heard my story, or, those kind of things, the projects that I'm working on, like with you doing this for you, did I share what I did to the best of my ability to help so that your project, does well too? And so, do I do that all the time? When I go to bed, yes, that's exactly what I'm thinking is,
have you done your best
to help, everybody, and because a lot does weigh on me. I see I see so much good and potential in so many people, and so many great things we can do together to really help everyone, that it does weigh on me. So that's what I go to bed at night.
Well, that's
about
interesting.
What can I do tomorrow